Before we start to investigate the questions left from the end of our last session in this series of practical philosophy about the sense of pure theoretical truth, we would need to clarify what can be meant by this concept as such. It is believed that truth is opposite to false, or as expressed by Spinoza. Just as light manifests both itself and the dark, so truth is the standard both of itself and the false. And as the truth is always true, and that this is true, that truth is always true, and so on and vice versa, it becomes clear from the rules of the use of language, and this reveals the reflexive relation of the concept of truth. However, this self-identification is insufficient when we intend at the moment to distinguish the concept of truth from other concepts that also are in the sphere of the law of identity. The problem of truth boils down to the problem of the general and the particular. It is a contradiction to speak of a truth that is beyond the horizon of our existence and at the same time to assume its normative authority, since then, as a transcendental relationship, it cannot be perceived with such a meaning. The scope of the concept of truth also cannot be reduced to only embrace the purely subjective concepts of a single individual. Otherwise, in a normative sense, the concept of truth is only an isolated abstraction of a given individual. To establish the universal character of normativity, of truth, transcending the sphere of the individual subject, it is required that truth is in some kind of productive relation to something outside its own sphere, so that its scopes includes more than an inner relation. On the one hand, as against this, as Williamjames noticed, objective truth must be something non-utilitarian, haughty, refined, remote, august, exalted. It must be an absolute correspondence of our thoughts with an equally absolute reality. So it must be what we ought to be unconditionally. And the fundamental challenge of Western rationalistic philosophical tradition is to find an adequate way to achieve such a basis of normativity. At the same time, it is not possible to turn to another authority which is ungrounded in relation to the context proposed by the rational philosophical system.